All right, hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Behind the Counter. I'm your host, Rich Stambolian, and with me as always is the poster boy for body dysmorphia, Jonathan Adler.
I like when you do it, like your shoulders go like nuts. Like, I watch it, and it's like watching like Morse code version of what you're saying.
My shoulder's telling you that my brain's working.
No, it's sticky. Like I like. It's like it's some stick for you.
You don't have body dysmorphia, right?
I do. I am disgusted by my body, and I want to transform into something else. That's what it is, right? You feel like you're Brundlefly from the Jeff Goldblum Fly movie, and you want to become a superhuman.
Because I was telling him not to have body dysmorphia.
It's too late.
And
Too late, pal.
He didn't eat all day, and I was like,
days.
"You should eat something." And he's like, "I got 2 more pounds left." He's like Liam Neeson in like one of the Taken movies.
Yeah,
I have 2 more pounds left.
4 pounds. Where are all those 2 pounds?
I'll kill them.
Where are you keeping them?
In my head.
They're in your hair, man.
They are in your hair. Yeah, if you did cut your hair and stop using so much product, you would lose weight.
Uh,
And if you got rid of that massive ego too.
The ego just goes with me.
That's like 100 pounds right there.
it's funny. He's Armenian, so he may just have like 2 pounds of just
Bread?
the hair.
It's like bread in his pockets. That flat bread you throw on your shoulders when you get married.
Dusty bread.
How come you didn't do that at your wedding, man? How come you didn't put a big giant piece of bread on your shoulders? like a bread cape.
I didn't do it on mine either.
I asked my dad about that. He
Cadenza.
was like, horseshit.
You buy a credenza.
All right. So, welcome to the comic book show.
We do comic book stuff. We
That's it.
stay comic book.
Did you go into the back and turn the ether on?
I did when you guys left the room.
My coffee definitely kicked out on the second hour.
Yeah. I made really strong coffee today, and like my eyes are like pulsating out of my skull right now.
I'm having a heart attack. My entire left side of my body is both vibrating and shutting down at the same time.
Your phone's ringing and you're just dying.
My phone ringing?
I can't pick it up. Let's talk comics, man. We got a lot to talk about this week. Yeah, we're going to talk about Wolverine a lot.
We are gonna talk about
The etymology of Wolverine, bub.
yeah, I'm going to cut them open.
And we're going to talk about some stuff we read and give me some news.
It's been a really terribly slow week, but we were graced with the wonderful presence of Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles being premiered today.
Love it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah?
I absolutely hate it.
Tell me
But
why.
I love the way they look. I do think they look fantastic.
Yeah.
I think they made a really cool looking turtle.
It's a cool
Because you know what?
turtle.
I grew up. I was a Ninja Turtle maniac. Like
I think we all were, man.
Every one of us.
And it's weird because that was such a like everyone kind of picked up on it with a fervor.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh my god, this new stuff. And I love the comics when they came out, and I loved everything about them.
Toys.
The toys I was crazy about because they were awesome toys. And then they did the movies, and I love the movies.
Yeah.
They don't stand up to the test of time too well, but the costumes do. They looked fantastic.
The
The
first one
two.
kinda-
The first 2 movies were good.
Yeah.
The first one kind of stands up. The third one's just atrocious.
The first one's kind of like a weirdo, like indie film.
It is.
Yeah, it's like, and I do enjoy the.
Dark.
Yeah.
It's very dark. You get Elias Codius.
Elias Codius.
Casey Jones.
Just makes everyone feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But the new one, I think, like, I can't stand what's her face. When they got April O'Neil, Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Can't stand.
That's
her.
interesting that she's like, because her career kind of tanked after she refused Transformers 3,
So she went to Ninja Turtles.
that she's back for the Ninja Turtles
Another
franchise.
Michael Bay project.
Yep.
So weird.
Because he made her famous.
Yeah.
Good.
He should have stopped that.
Yeah.
She has the same like thing. I don't know. Yeah, pretty much that thing.
Who would you pick for April O'Neil?
Meryl Streep.
Yeah. Going old.
A young Cher.
Mhm.
April O'Neil, the porn star.
There you go. I think she would have been fantastic too. I think it's not a role that has to be like the most crazy bombshell or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
I think if you're going for the Megan Fox route, go one step higher and go for Olivia Wilde. Better actor, better on the eyes, actually has somewhat of a brain. Throw her in the role instead. I'm
Kristen
sure she's
Wiig.
available. Kristen Wiig, fine. Throw her in there. That new girl who has Down syndrome on Saturday Night Live. That girl.
I haven't watched any of this here Saturday Night Live.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get
I know
through
they
it.
got a lot of new guys on there.
Yeah, they had a good bit. I watched the Lena Dunham one, and they did this one bit where it was like a Wayne's World type like show with these two girls, and the show was called what What's wrong with you? You're so crazy. You're being so stupid right now. That's the name of the entire show, and everything they say, like, oh my God, you're being so stupid. I liked it. That was the one.
Sounds terrible.
I know.
That was at the king of the pile of crap.
That was the king of the pile of crap. that was our first hour.
You were saying, I can't for Megan Fox. Yeah,
Megan Fox. Can't stand her.
And you also can't stand the new Turtles trailer.
I think it just looks dumb. I like William Fichtner, the guy who's playing the guy that I think is Baxter Stockman in this.
I think he's Shredder.
Is he playing? He is playing Shredder. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, because he goes into the armor and everything.
Yeah, and he looks at the armor. I think that's interesting that he's playing Shredder because he's like a serious actor for the most part, but like he always shows up in like weird shit.
I love that dude. I absolutely love
like his cameo in Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. He's a weird dude, man. Yeah. I saw a really weird movie with him where I forgot what it was called. I think it was called like What or something, and it was the same guy that made that movie about the tire that scans people's minds.
Yeah.
You never saw Rubber?
No.
It's about like a tire, like a tire going through the desert, like spontaneously combusting things with its mind, and like people trying to figure out what's going on with it. Mm-hmm. Check it out sometime. But he made another movie about this guy who's trying to like track down his dog. His dog like disappears, and it's like this elaborate like game that William Fichtner's playing, where he's like this like dude with like half his face is all burnt up, and it's really, and what's his name? Stevie from Eastbound and Down, he plays a pet detective.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't particularly care for the movie, but it was a weird role for this guy to be in. And I think I've seen that guy naked a lot of times too. Maybe. Yeah. Not. I think so.
What's his name?
Kevin Bacon.
No.
William Fichtner.
I'm trying to. Yeah.
He's like one of those guys who's been in a ton of stuff. He's always like someone who's like the bad guy in a Bourne Identity movie.
Yeah, he's always like the
corporate stooge.
Corporate stooge. Very interesting.
He was in Go.
Right. Which one was Go?
Go is the one with
the chick from Dawson's
Tom
Creek,
Cruise's wife. Yeah, that one. I like how he both went the two parts of her career. Dawson's Creek, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And he played, it was like him and the guy from Party of Five, and there were two actors who were playing cops, and they do research, and they went for a drug deal, and William Fichtner is like a weird like massage guy who's actually a cop.
Right, yeah. I remember that.
Down.
He was in Blades of Glory.
Yeah.
And he was in The Lone Ranger.
Oh, good.
Right. I haven't seen it yet.
I don't know.
He was in Elysium.
Which
he was like the corporate corporate dude. Corporate stooge. And he's the Shredder.
The Shredder. I was like, how did we get to William Fichtner? I forgot the source of the equation.
I liked it. I liked the trailer. I like how they look. I think they look friggin' incredible. They look like they're from outer space.
Yeah. Because they originally designed to be that.
You know what? That didn't bother me. Like
stupid.
It really like destroyed the internet, but now it's kind of like they brought the origin back together. Where spoiler alert, where it's April O'Neil and the Shredder. April O'Neil's dad and the Shredder came up with like the ooze or whatever it is, you know.
And he's also the Shredder for some reason.
Right, which I feel like is kind of like,
I think they're doing reincarnation with him. That he's like the reincarnated spirit of like this old shogun.
Right, that would be interesting.
I should have wrote this movie.
That's one thing about the original franchise that's phenomenal. You know, it's like you have like the heavy Japanese influence, and you know, like a rat that turned into.
Well, the reboot. I've been reading the IDW series, and it's a cool. Like in the beginning, it sucked. I couldn't stand it, but it gets progressively better.
Yeah.
But the way they worked it was like Splinter was straight up like a regular rat who's a lab rat. And he was the one who took care of the turtles in this, in the labs. And then they eventually get separated. And Raphael got separated from the family in the beginning and was like on his own adventures. And he meets Casey Jones. But they said eventually that Splinter is a reincarnated spirit of like this old, sensei.
Right. Okay.
And that's how he has like all this knowledge of like fighting and stuff like that. And like the ooze like brought back all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like I read it and I was like, oh, this is a kind of a good plot.
Makes sense
for a movie. I mean, I know it's a stretch with Ninja Turtles, but
I want a Casey Jones in this.
And they had a cat involved in it also.
Okay.
They had like this one old cat that was involved. This
one old cat.
Yeah, like Hob or something.
I want a Casey Jones in this movie.
Is there a Casey Jones?
I want Elias Koteas also to be to play Casey Jones in this.
I want him in everything.
Let's see.
I'm looking at the trailer right now.
Yeah.
They're really hideous looking, the turtles.
I know they should be.
And their hunchback is like awful.
Well, they're a turtle, dude.
All right, never mind. It just brought me to a different list. I was trying to look it up online. Definitely need a Casey Jones. What else came out with the news this week?
Nothing, man.
Peter David doing Spider-Man.
That just came out today.
$20.99.
Yeah.
What did you read this week?
I read a bunch. I read Walking Dead. It was good.
Yes.
My big books, like I love Silver Surfer this week.
Surfer was phenomenal.
And I read a good article about it too, that it kind of went a different route of how you treat number one, where it was I forgot how Comics Alliance put it. It was instead of doing retrospection about the character and kind of introducing him so much, they did an incident where they had this like incident that kind of reveals like if you never knew who Silver Surfer was at this point, you get everything you kind of need to know. Galactus, and he's a
Shalabal.
surfer guy, guilt, the whole nine.
Never have to explain the surfboard.
No, he's someone you can just kind of go by the aesthetics, and just go awesome. There you go, paracosmic.
Yeah, that's one of the characters where like that '60s kind of swinging gets worked out for.
Yes, but it's a beautiful book. Mike Allred, Dan Slott, some really good dialogue and that stuff. Did you read New Avengers this week?
I did not.
Wow.
Yeah,
I should have told you to read that book also.
I'm too behind New Avengers. I read Ghost Rider #1.
I didn't read that. See, you're wasting your time.
Very enjoyable.
Really?
Very, very enjoyable.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm a big sucker for Ghost Rider.
Kind of brutal too.
And cars.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I got it kind of like on a whim. I was like, see, because usually like a lot of times with me, the Ghost Rider stuff kind of falls a little short from where you'd like it to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like an interesting thing with that character because you would think, it would write itself.
I was a diehard Ghost Rider fan in the 90s too, during all the Dan Ketch stuff.
Yeah, same here.
It was a good book, man.
Yeah, it was a good book. It was, I don't know how they hold up there. I haven't gone back and read them.
But on a month-to-month basis, like being a kid and reading it was like awesome cliffhangers.
Yeah.
The mystery of the Ghost Rider.
He was him and Darkhawk were the two coolest dudes when we were kids.
But let me tell you about, I don't want to spoil too much on the New Avengers book. This is why you have to read it. Because most of the issues have been them watching other universes.
Right.
This one is Namor and Black Panther, like kind of looking over all the stuff, and they look at this one world, and it's awesome. Like after the Age of Heroes happened, like the Secret Invasion happens, all the heroes get wiped out, and the only people who are left are the Justice League.
Okay.
It's a guy like Superman's sun god. There's a Batman character. There's a Dr. Spectrum. And there's a Dr. Fate called Horus.
Okay.
And like there's some cool stuff. And the next arc is going to be the New Avengers fighting the Justice League.
That's kind of interesting.
It's like in terms of archetypes and everything, it's really, really cool.
That's pretty cool. I'm a couple behind on that. I've been picking and choosing a lot lately, and
I hope so.
Stuff has been getting like kind of filtered through. What else did I read this week? Walking Dead I really liked.
Yeah.
I want to catch up with the show.
I don't want to.
I haven't.
I think I'm done.
Been watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently it got really good again.
I didn't know about that.
So who knows? But I like this issue. I kind of the book gets hyped a lot, which is good and bad because I feel like the bad of it is there's too much talk about what's happening at the end of the next issue. And I feel like Kirk is going to do
what in the players page.
No,
or just
just in general. And I think because it's the mystery, like what the cover of 126 is. Is it 126?
27 with the new start.
Yeah, with the new start. Where do you think it's going to end?
Well, I mean, I think as long as I've been reading the book, I've always, I think every one of these arcs, I've always liked the idea that maybe, Rick or Carl will be taken out of the equation. Ever since his wife died, I think there's been that guessing that what if they wipe out the entire team, they start over again. I'm a sucker for that type of stuff, and I still feel like I'm in the same boat where I think that one of the major characters are going to kind of bite it because we've reached a point where, like, people argue that Rick is the book and that you need to have this main character. You followed his journey through this whole thing. I think you can do the same thing with Carl. I think at this point you've developed him into a character that you would enjoy following along, and his unique perspective. Because eventually at this point he's going to go through the Wolverine syndrome, where it seems like he's going to be Invincible. He's gone up
Right.
against anything. Like, this is a major thing. They're actually at a much bigger war than they ever did with the governor. Like, the stakes are so much higher, and there's so much more people involved, and it's so much more brutal.
Mm-hmm.
I love the book. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'm suffering from the fatigue overall of having read this book for so long, and also the fatigue of being so disgusted with the show.
Okay.
And like, it's kind of like made me bitter, but it's my first read when I get it.
Yeah, same here. So you're a little burnt out on Walking Dead.
I'm more disappointed than anything.
Okay.
I'm more disappointed in the sense that Kirkman has such a strong, from what I understand, he has such a love for the show, and he has such a stake in the show, and brought so much over. And I guess we're in a case where it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. That, like, when you have a book like The Walking Dead that's completely built for episodic television, and yes, there's stuff you have to change. Why would you bother going the route they have with a lot of their storylines?
Right.
They've written themselves into like weird corners and done weird things. And yeah, you want to show different than the comic, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that the way they've addressed a lot of stuff is kind of disappointing. And like, you're going so far away from what made this book so awesome.
Okay.
I think everything is so kind of middle of the road with that TV show.
Okay.
And I definitely, like, I feel like if you're doing anything, a TV show like Game of Thrones for the book, it should bring its own, voice to the table, but it should also be that visual feast you need that you didn't get from the book.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. I definitely feel you on that. When was the last time you watched the show?
Last season.
Ain't nothing from this season.
No,
Nothing from like the restart in February.
And I liked the end of the last season. There's a lot of governor stuff, and it was really cool.
Nah.
But at the end, I when it came back, I was just, I don't know. I just let it fall behind.
Yeah, same here. I haven't watched it since like the middle of the last season. Like this, I think I got like 3 or 4 episodes in and was like, this is stupid.
I think also,
That's my opinion.
Yeah,
But,
no, I thought it was dumb too. But it does pick up as a new show when it came on. But from what I hear, the mass populace is not feeling the season at all.
Yeah,
they feel it's very, very slow and kind of plodding.
Interesting.
But I can't say I haven't really watched it.
I think where the book is going is I could see Rick getting killed, definitely, because one thing is like I don't think he's gonna get killed by the wound because I feel like what's his name, Dwight, stabbed him probably with a clean weapon,
arrow,
or whatever it was.
But he doesn't have a fever. Everyone else is getting a fever now.
Right. I think Rick may die, or they're gonna take a break from Rick for a while because
split him up.
Yeah, split him up, or maybe not have the focus on Rick anymore because his story has been, let's survive, let me lead these people, let's run away, let me regroup with these people, let's survive, let me lead them. It's ongoing, like going on and on. So I think there may need to be like a little bit of a break from that,
especially for a book that's supposed to go on forever.
Right. And it's kind of hard to get pigeonholed. Like, I feel like the way Kirkman structured the book is he would get dumped on by fans probably if he killed Rick, but
whatever, you're gonna get dumped on regardless.
He's been killing dudes left and right since the book started. I
think it's a book that is. Maybe the expectations are kind of messed up because of how far he raises the stakes over and over again. You constantly want that from the anniversary issues, 25, 50, 100. You want those things that are kind of like the big moments that are like, oh my god, this has changed everything. Like with Glenn getting killed. Like Glenn getting his head bashed in is something that we all anticipated. We anticipated something terrible happened. We didn't know it was going to be him.
Right, yeah.
I think that I know Kirkman's a good enough writer. He brought us to this point. I love the story. Don't get me wrong. I really do enjoy the comic.
Yeah.
I love it to death. I think that I'm looking down the line at what could be happening and like kind of like my displeasure with it. But I think that he's a smart enough writer to write himself out of it in terms of, I think he has enough balls to maybe go like a death of Rick or a separation from Rick and a different kind of focus.
Yeah.
Like maybe see another group leading up to them meeting up with Rick. Like take a break from all this, like you're saying. Because I'm still reading Invincible. And Invincible, is, straight up superhero stuff with a lot of gore into it. And still to this day, and it's right up there in the numbers that Walking Dead does, that it's still surprising and still cutting edge.
Absolutely. I love Invincible, but I picked them up by trades.
Yeah.
The last I read was him getting betrayed by Robot. Oh. That was like the end of 19.
That just came out. That's like the issue before this last week.
Okay.
That's
cool.
like when he drops him off in the other alternate reality.
Right. Yeah. I want to pick it up month to month, but
That's what I did.
I like having because I'll read the trades in one sitting and just kind of like absorb everything. And it's
How awesome is it, man?
It's one of the best books out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very consistent. That's one of the most consistent superhero comics
Yeah.
that's been around. Is he leaving?
Yeah, he's gone.
I'm gonna take a nap, guys.
I love that book. I really love that book. What else did I read this week?
Uncanny Avengers.
Uncanny Avengers was awesome.
That was a fantastic book. Man.
Yeah.
I really dig how they're kind of like I still kind of like how the Marvel universe is really screwed up with time, and that they're even in like another reality that was created because of what just happened with the Apocalypse twins.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna wrap up with the return of everybody who died.
Oh yeah, I think
You know.
I think time is gonna be corrected, and that's
Yeah.
why they did the mass killings.
But the Kang reveal at the end,
Awesome.
phenomenal.
Awesome.
Love it.
I love alternate reality teams.
Yeah. Who's on the team? It's
Strife,
right.
Psylocke from the X-Force future,
Okay.
where she's like running the country with like an X-Force unit.
Right.
Said Strife,
Yeah.
Ahab,
More strife.
Abomination, Deathlock.
That's okay. That's who I was
the big guy
trying to
is.
figure out. Yeah.
Abomination, Deathlock, and
Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman from her name is Venom in
Right.
Earth X.
Doom 2099.
Doom 2099.
Arnold Stark.
Arnold Stark.
And I feel like there's one more.
Could be.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's like 6 or 7 people.
Yeah.
I think we got most of them.
But that's an awesome like for Remender to. I always felt Remender stuff always paralleled
Those old 90s characters.
Kirkman's in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, like just their writing style. But like Remender is so like more science fiction. Let it all hang out. Kind of balls to the wall stuff. You know.
Well, Remender's goal is to make a lot of the 90s stuff really cool.
Mhm.
Like the X-Force stuff, he really made into like a viable property again.
Yeah.
And like utilizing Strife, utilizing Ahab. I loved Ahab. I
Mhm.
love like the old. You ever read those? Like there were old like annuals, and there's a story about. I think there were a lot of Art Adams covers with a grown-up Franklin Richards in like an M jumpsuit, like and Phoenix, like the two of them getting together, and Ahab was like the main enemy throughout the whole storyline. It was awesome.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't think I've ever read them.
And then the Ahab, like my favorite Ahab thing, because he was a cool character, because he was supposed to be another version of like Cable and Strife.
Right.
He was supposed to be part of that whole thing. But did you ever read like the Excalibur Morinell stuff?
No.
Back in the day, it was so awesome. So that this one dude, Roy Campbell or whatever his name was the guy who like was fated to become Ahab. And his whole story was he really was doing everything in his power. He's a big mutant activist, like loved mutants, but he was involved with this one mutant who looked like Sabretooth, whose ability was to bring out the worst in you.
Okay.
And he kept on having these like one-on therapy sessions with him, and had these big old laser like jail cell thing. And it's one issue he loses control and like just completely turns into like a bigot to him. It's like he gets the best of him, and he goes beyond the lasers and gets his leg cut off. And that was the moment like he knows he's gonna be Ahab, like he can't escape his destiny.
Okay.
And it was so solid. It was so good.
I gotta check that out, man. 'Cause that sounds phenomenal.
That's the Peter Wisdom stuff. Is all came from that.
That's one of the things that I always wanted to read but never got around to.
So good.
'Cause there's a lot of
Pacheco art on that.
Yeah, there's like a lot of Marvel stuff that like I know it was around. It was still when I was collecting comics, but just like avoided it. I could not care for Excalibur when I was a kid.
So I always read Excalibur. I don't know why, and I did have my own weird. I hated Alan Davis as a kid,
Okay.
but I still read all the crappy, like well, not crappy, but really quirky Excalibur stuff with Claremont. But the Warren Ellis stuff was so tight, and I love Pure Wisdom. That was like the introduction of like the Pride and Wisdom miniseries.
Yeah.
Cos Pacheco, you got David Beckham, Nightcrawler when he shaved his head. Got a lot of cool stuff in there.
Dave Cockrum.
Kate,
Am I thinking? You said Dave Beckham.
No, like he
Yeah.
looked like David Beckham.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He like shaved his head and got a goatee in the whole nine.
My bad.
Started playing soccer.
You know what? I didn't watch the new X-Men trailer. I was gonna do it before I left, but I completely forgot.
What did they put out a new X-Men trailer?
Yeah, there was like a new teaser for
Oh,
it.
that's right. Yeah, they did put that out.
Apparently, it was very memorable.
Yeah, you know my feelings. I've talked about it at length of how I feel about this new movie.
Yeah. It's not gonna be that great.
So you read Origin this week?
I did.
All right.
I really liked it. I think it was the strongest issue so far.
I've told you on the show that I unabashedly, completely am in love with this storyline.
Yes. Yeah.
what I love about it is that this is exactly what I want from the Wolverine origin story.
Okay.
As a fan of Wolverine, and I was a huge, fervent fan for Wolverine. I was a maniac. Hairy dude, hairy guy, loved it. Claws coming in hands. But like when we first got, I like Origin. I really enjoy Origin. I think it kind of falls apart at the end. I think the first like couple of issues were, like the second issue was the one where he pops his claws and kills his family.
I think it was like second or third.
And then it went like the time jump, and they were like, it's him and Rose, like in the Yukon and stuff like that, and he loses his mind. That's all cool and everything, but you want like what people want to see have a Wolverine origin story is, the memory stuff, and Sabretooth. Like Sabretooth is his Joker. That's his guy, and I think this particular issue did such a good job of kind of answering the mythos question of why these two dudes are so intertwined with each other.
Yeah, and how big of a scumbag Sabretooth really is.
Yeah. I don't even know if we call him a scumbag at this point.
See, I think I'll go back to Origins. And Paul Jenkins wrote it, right?
The first one.
Yeah.
This is Kieran Gillen.
That's like such a weird thing with like that book in particular is that I feel like every diehard Wolverine fan was just like, why Dog Logan? Like, why not just have him be Sabretooth? It makes so much sense, you know? But maybe that was the whole train of thought of like, let's throw a monkey wrench into like the fans' ideas of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But this is the nice like little retcon that you kind of get where and there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So if anybody's listening who hasn't picked up the book, it kind of picks up where the first one left off, where he's just like a wild man in the wilderness. He's living with wolves. A bear shows up and kills his wolf family.
It's Mr. Sinister's bear.
Right, it's Mr. Sinister's like
kills his whole family.
Scientific. So you have like the way the Sinister stuff is worked in is really good.
Yeah.
And then he gets kidnapped.
He gets kidnapped and put into a circus.
Right.
As a wild man.
And then he gets freed.
Mr. Sinister wants to purchase him.
Right.
And Mr. Sinister is like weird, like I'm an Empire style German, like with a whole crew, and he's like the dandy. And then Sabretooth and his like sister wife, who has like a weird scarred up face, but is like the tender person in the relationship with him. He's kind of like a tracker bounty hunter,
right?
And they're on the road, and she feels very bad for him, and sees a lot of Sabretooth in him, and is trying to civilize him. So they break him out, and Mr. Sinister is on their trail.
And that's where this issue picks up, where it starts out with Wolverine trying to buy some sausages, and the guy like taps his shoulder and was like, "Hey, you forgot your change," and he loses his mind, because he's trying to become a man again. It's kind of it was a great issue, but it's also kind of weird how she automatically was like, let's get down to business.
Well, he's like, Wolverine, dude.
I know he's Wolverine. That's a weird thing about talking about the Wolverine mythos is that dude who's the dude who shouldn't get laid.
Yeah,
but he always does.
Well, all right. So the climax of the book, the big part of it is, he finally admits to to Sabretooth's sister that he doesn't want to get close to anybody because by accident he killed Rose, his true love, and he's like, I'm destined to like no one can get close to me. And she makes the move, and they both make out, and right after that, Mrs. Sanders' people burst in the room, and he of course turns around and stabs her in the chest by accident. Right. And it was a great the paneling after that. All the panels start slowly going red until it's one large red page, and then the next page picks up where everyone's dead, like the Berserker Rage happened.
Well, you read it digitally, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The print version is this. Obviously, it's the same thing. You know, like he stabs her. Sabretooth. I think Sabretooth tipped him off because he was watching from the window like a real creep from the roof.
That's a good idea.
From the roof across the street.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And the way it laid out in the book is everything got read, and then you turn the page, and it's a 2-page spread of just 2 red pages.
Yeah, that's the way it played on this.
And then 2 more ads, and it was like I haven't felt that tense reading a comic in forever because you have the red, you're like, oh man,
well,
it happened. You turn a page, there's 2 ads. Turn another page, and then it's him covered in blood, just standing there.
That's what I think is so amazing about is that he did such a good job of like establishing like, babe, like I can't do this stuff, like I'm gonna kill you, and it like it fulfills itself immediately after that conversation. You're like, holy shit, I can't believe it. It was such an awesome Wolverine moment.
Yeah.
And then Sabretooth running in and saying like, oh, not knowing that Wolverine killed her, or saying that he doesn't know they killed her, and saying, let's get revenge. Let's go out there and go after Sinister.
Right, which is kind of like that's what makes me feel like Sabretooth tipped him off, because he was probably like, listen, I'm going to like send your guys, and if your guys fail, I'm going to bring them to you myself.
Well, because
let me know where you are.
Mr. Sabretooth has such a tie to Mr. Sinister.
Right.
That's his crony.
Mm-hmm.
But also they introduced this whole thing with this memory thing, where like Mr. Sinister developed this thing where you can wipe out your past. That's obviously what's going to happen to Wolverine, where he loses his memory.
Yeah.
And that does a good solidification of how this guy lost it.
Right.
I think it's awesome. I think
it is fantastic. Go ahead.
No, I'm just like so when I thought about this, I'm like, this is my kind of like my wish fulfillment. I think the art's great in the book. I think the writing is great in the book. I love what they're doing with the mythos, and I love what they're adding on this. It's kind of exactly what I want from a Wolverine origin story.
Right.
We've seen Weapon X 100 times over. We know what happened, but adding Mr. Sinister into the mix of it, which he is the awesome guy behind the curtain for everybody. And I never get tired of him being utilized.
The reveal, the reveal of him. Do you think this is going to end with Weapon X?
Yeah, I think that this is somehow like he's going to obtain him, and that's how he deposits him in like Weapon X. I think that's how like it all starts.
Yeah, it's a really see, but you can't. I don't think you could do that though.
Why?
Because
that stuff they did in Weapon X, the miniseries, the Marvel Comics Presents stuff.
No, because you have to take into account that he was in World War II.
Oh, that's right. Well, no, after this, I do think it'll probably end with. You're right. I think it'd probably end with like him and Sabretooth going off and like doing because they were together for forever.
Right.
He was through World War I. He was through World War II. He was on the Korean War.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I think this book is going to establish like the weirdo relationship between the two of those guys.
Yeah, because they were also on
Task Force X.
The team with
Maverick.
With Maverick.
Yeah,
right?
Task Force.
Was it Task Force X?
Yeah.
Okay. Which I always thought was awesome, and I always wanted to see more stuff with that. That was like one of my favorite parts of the Jim Lee X-Men stuff from the early 90s.
Did you read a lot of Larry Hama Wolverine stuff?
Yes.
That was my shit. And they do a lot with like him and Wraith and like the other. They did like a really cool that Shiva robot.
Yes.
That was like the defense mechanism for Weapon X.
Yeah.
There was a lot. They did a lot with those dudes.
Yeah.
Maverick got some of the best stuff through like Larry Hama and like later on Daniel Way with like the Wolverine origin stuff.
Yeah.
Which was great.
Yeah. I like that stuff. It was such a weird character.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so this is a dude who went from a weirdo Hulk story with Wendigo, immediately showing up in X-Men sometime after.
Right.
Becoming like the asshole on the team. Not so much the rebel or anyone. He was the asshole.
Yeah. And
then having an awesome Chris Claremont story with him getting screwed up in the Hellfire Club and being a badass.
Right. Frank Miller's 4-issue miniseries.
4-issue miniseries right after that, establishing him as this great samurai ninja guy who was the baddest dude in the world and super cool. And, he's gone through a great deal of stuff. Like he got his memories back. He turned to a caveman. He traveled
did turn to a caveman.
He trained to a caveman. He traveled through time with Spider-Man for the guy with the diamond baseball bat. Thank you, Jason Aaron.
X-Force.
The X-Force stuff is like, which is like one of the biggest things. Like him getting his memories back recently and during the House of M stuff was fantastic and like a huge moment for the character.
Right.
And the idea that the whole X-Force thing where he has this massive murder machine that he's developed that he carries that guilt with him endlessly. And that now everyone knows about it.
And started the Jean Grey School and became a headmaster,
Yeah.
Went to hell for a while.
His best friend just came back from the dead.
Right.
And also like where we're leading up to, because this is supposed to be a very big year for Wolverine. He no longer has his healing factor.
Right.
And they're killing him off at the end of the year. I know that this is comic books and it's not going to be, it's not going to be permanent. It's Wolverine. But the fact that they're doing it is like, it's a cool storyline.
Twice.
What?
That he's getting killed off.
Yeah. But they can't, I suppose they're canceling his books in the whole 9.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting because, he needs a little breather, I think.
I think so.
But
the Jean Grey stuff has been fantastic.
Yeah, the Jean Grey stuff is excellent. You know what? I'm a couple issues behind on the. I didn't read the number 1 and the number 2.
Regardless, his character as being the headmaster and being this, like you mean the schism stuff, like setting up the dynamic between Cyclops and Wolverine as Wolverine going to the Professor X mode,
right?
And Cyclops becoming the Magneto situation.
It's the thing about Wolverine is that he's a very layered character, and it works. It's like the perfect storm of, you know what, like we don't have to worry about giving this guy too much. We can give him everything.
Yeah.
You know, unless there could be like a weird line crossed at some point.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's tough to write Wolverine, but at the same time, it's probably a lot of fun because you can put him in any situation.
Yeah.
And it's one versatile character that you could literally do anything with because one, he's been around. He's like 200 years old. Two, now that he's got his memories back, it opens up the floodgates for like who knows how many different stories that you could tell.
Yeah.
Three, you could really mess with them. Like what they're doing now with the healing factor. Like that was the big thing in, I think it was X-Men 75, where he gets the metal ripped out of him by Magneto and he becomes like a mindless savage. And then...
Well, they do that and he has the bone claws for a long period of time. It's not until they bring back Genesis, Cable's son, and he tries to inject him with adamantium.
Right.
And his body rejects it, and then he's mutated, and then they gradually forget about it and just write him as a normal human being.
Right. And then how did he get killed?
When you talking about when he got killed? When he did the Four Horsemen stuff?
Yeah. Because
he didn't really die. They faked his death.
Right. Okay.
They did
because then he showed up with, because he was a new death.
Yeah.
And then
they gave him Sabretooth's adamantium.
Right. That was the reveal. Yeah. Was it Sabretooth or was it Cyber?
Came from Cyber, put into Sabretooth, and then they then like Sabretooth and Wolverine had like a contest champions in front of Apocalypse.
Right.
Or Genesis, whoever was the dude at the time. And then he got the stuff again and became Death.
Right.
And that was all happening off camera eventually, and they went back to it.
Exactly. And that was that was wrapped up rather soon.
Oh yeah.
And it was a cool reveal because I think the reveal was like you knew it was Wolverine, but it was obviously the claw reveal. And then he kind of floated around a little bit. There was like some
they did the weird clone stuff, weird scroll stuff with him too that he was missing for a while.
Okay.
And that there was like the Wolverine that was around for a while on the X-Men team was a scroll. Mm-hmm. That was like from the Jim Lee era to like now on the X-Men team. There's been like the scroll hanging around.
That's kind of weird. I don't remember that.
It's really weird stuff.
Yeah.
That was, I think, right before the Morrison stuff popped off. They did a lot of weird stuff like that.
Okay.
What else have they done with the dude that's really weird? I think he wouldn't be in the position that he is now. I mean, the movies obviously did wonders for his popularity and brought him to the mainstream. And he's always been that character that like everyone attaches themselves to. But his inclusion into the Avengers was a massive controversial move that really brought him to the point where he can be a headmaster, where he took on this new responsibility and had people writing him with characters he never interacted before.
It made a lot of sense too, because the big fan outcry of that was like, how can he be on the Avengers? He's a murderer.
Yeah.
And why not? It's come into play so many times. You know, we're like, everybody knows.
Yeah, Black Widow's a murderer, Winter Soldier's a murderer, Captain America's a murderer.
So's Thor.
Thor's definitely a murderer. It's a god killer. But also what's great about that stuff is like he went through the motions with that. Like he developed his relationship with Wolverine,
right?
With Spider-Man, which is great. And the during that whole period with him being on the Noble Avengers and being like a key member is like all the X-Force stuff. Him going around doing complete executions, military style,
right?
Which is like it was great because he did so reluctantly,
right? Yeah.
And like Cyclops talking him into it and everything. That being the beginning moments of
kind of their separation.
Yeah.
The Schism stuff also led.
Oh, such a good story.
Schism was awesome. I feel like it's very underrated.
Yeah.
And kind of forgotten at this point. But Jason Aaron wrote this fantastic 5-issue miniseries about like the split of Wolverine and Cyclops over
the two ideologies.
Right. Over the Professor X ideology of how do we achieve mutant peace?
Yeah. And they had one of the greatest fights I've ever seen.
Right. And with the Sentinel in the background and everything, it was awesome. The crazy thing about the Wolverine mythology is, along with the rest of the X-Men stuff, is that the X-Men have always moved around in different locations. And he settled with Westchester, like Westchester County, because that's where he learned how to become a dude.
Yeah, he became a human being
from Professor X.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see a little bit more. I feel like we're gonna get an Origins 3.
I think so
at some point.
I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about this book. Because I think they are burned out a bit by Origins period, because we had an Origins ongoing for so long.
Yeah.
That didn't do a lot of Origin stuff, but we got like Romulus out of that crap.
Right, yeah, which was just
Cat
kind of
people and Romulus.
I really liked that book up until a certain point.
It did a good job of redeeming itself too. They dealt some really crappy cards to it with the Romulus, and he was forced to deal with it, and he made the best of it.
Yeah.
And that book with him and Steve Dillon was so awesome. They did some great stuff. We always talk about Dark Robinson, Greg Rucka run on Wolverine.
Phenomenal.
Is one of the most unappreciated,
Yeah.
12 to 13 issue runs of that character's career.
Yeah. I think it was longer than that, wasn't it?
It was like the first storyline, which is just introducing this version of Wolverine in his world. I think it was like a rescue story, like a kidnapping story. And then they did like a road story, and I think it ended with the sister, the lover thing with the other Wolverine girl.
Yeah.
The female of the species.
Right.
I think it was only like three or four story arcs. I think it was very short.
I would look that up because I remember really liking that.
Because that was one of the linchpins of why he went to Rucka went to DC and did 52 and stuff like that.
Okay. You had Origins, which came about after. I lost it. I lost my mind.
The Origins, the ongoing?
The comic series came about after
the miniseries.
The
House of M.
Right, House of M.
Yeah.
So I couldn't remember for the life of me. So that came out of House of M because he got his memories back. So again, like it was a little misleading because you think it's him dealing with, like just like the Wolverine past stuff, which it was, but it wasn't like past stories.
No.
I think you're definitely going to get a number 3, Origins number 3. Like we're depending on where this leaves off, because what is this, like 2 more issues?
I think next issue is the last one.
Really?
It's a 5-issue run, I think.
Oh,
I hope not.
Okay. I think it's 2 more. I think it's 6 issues.
I hope so.
I want to see like the World War II stuff, and just kind of like, was it ever explained how he was delivered to the Weapon X program?
Well, I mean, they show you in the actual original Marvel Comics Presents,
right?
Like you're going into his sports car after like leaving some like bar, and then like them coming and like shooting him and putting him in like a bag or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do think like they've done like Grant Morrison handling the Weapon X stuff in New X-Men was fantastic. Like introducing the Weapon Plus program and like putting Wolverine in this mythos that he is part of a super soldier program along with Captain America and Nuke and Deadpool and all that stuff, and actually giving it more of just like, instead of him just being a guy in a tube they gave some metal to, as being part of a larger scheme of things that they're still working with.
Right, which is awesome. I think that was awesome storytelling too, because I remember that reveal of like, I think it was Phantom X
and the other guy
who broke it to him, and he was like, "I'm supposed to be Weapon 13. Yeah, you're Weapon 10.
Yeah,
it's not an X.
X is, yeah,
it's a 10." And I remember reading that, and being like, "Oh, that's so awesome." Was it Weapon 13? Was Phantom X Weapon 13, or was that like the mystery one?
No. They introduced 11, 12, and 13 during that storyline. So I think Phantom X was 12.
Okay,
and 13 was the guy with the screw for a face, the one that defends the world.
Okay.
The one that it's like, whenever they show Phantom X now taking care of like Kid Apocalypse.
Right.
Ultimaton, that purple, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like the armored dude. He's the guy who they fight in the new X-Men storyline.
Okay.
When they go to the world where like he lives, where like Phantom X lives, and they took that in the X-Force storyline too. He's like the Weapon 13, where he's like this like Super Sentinel type dude.
Okay, yeah.
And then there was the other one that was, I think it was like 11. They're all like mixed up, 11, 12, 13, but 11 I think was the one that was like almost like a virus that infects people and makes people into like zombies, and like it's like a mass.
Okay.
It's a mass like consciousness that takes over people. And now they're doing the weapon mining stuff with Captain America, where like instead, like during the 50s and 60s, when there was no Captain America really, that this one scientist decided to make a peace-loving version of a super soldier program, and he created Dr. Mind Bubble, and he's a psychedelic scientist, and he's in the Winter Soldier storyline too.
I'm behind on both.
Stuff,
man, I know it's remembered doing the Cap stuff still.
The Winter Soldier stuff is fantastic.
Yeah. I think I read the first issue of that.
Second issue.
I got such a big stack.
Secret Avengers has gotten really
big
good.
Stack.
It's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff with number 1 on the cover.
I passed on Secret Avengers.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I thought some of the Remender stuff went on for a little bit too long. Right before it kicked off, it was before it got canceled and got restarted.
Yeah.
It got so good, and it showed you where they're going. And plus, that guy who writes Zero is doing the book now.
Okay.
And MODOK's on team. MODOK decides to trade state secrets and work with Shield and give them all the AIM technology.
Okay.
Good stuff.
I gotta catch up on that, man. There's so many, like, there's a lot of books where I'm just kind of like, I don't really.
Black Widow's solid book.
Mhm.
There's a lot of stuff. But the back to Wolverine.
Yeah.
I guess.
One of my favorite Wolverine miniseries was The Best There Is.
Which one was the best there
I
is?
think wrapped up last year, where they put him in outer space with like the virus guy.
Yeah.
And
the adult Wolverine book.
right, yeah, the really adult Wolverine book. I feel like nobody will ever talk about that. I'm not a fan of the Paul Cornell stuff now. Oh no, was it Paul Cornell or Alan Davis?
No, it's Paul Cornell.
Yeah.
Alan Davis was drawing the thing.
I can't get into it.
The last, I know what you're saying, and I feel the same way. But the storyline right when he loses powers and like he has his big confrontation with Sabretooth was very good. The stuff with him with the gun and all that stuff, I hope it leads to something better. Well, it's leading up to his death.
Yeah.
I don't think that Cornell should be the one that's really handling all this stuff.
Are you reading Savage Wolverine?
No, I haven't read it in months, and and I hear nothing but good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Wolverine Max when they like the issues I read. It was good, like bare bones Wolverine stories.
I dropped out of that, man. There's certain Wolverine stories that don't do it for me. Same thing with like the Punisher. When you have the other Punisher Max stories that are just kind of like, I feel the same way. They kind of hover on the same territory. Where unless it's like a certain writer doing it, like Daniel Way, Garth Ennis, Punisher Max, that's it. That's what I want. You know, it has to be of that caliber. The Wolverine stuff also. I don't want to see him as the character in a story that you're just kind of molding to Wolverine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I feel like
saying.
that's a lot of stuff that kind of comes out. You know, like stuff that's already written, where maybe an editor would say, like, "You got anything written that you can throw this guy in there?"
It's like, yeah,
fine. I want like Wolverine stuff that's just awesome Wolverine action, and the character has a voice. That's the thing.
Yeah,
like, a lot of those supplementary stories,
it's very different voice.
They don't. Yeah, he has like a very different voice. You know, you can play within the world, but like having him, what really gets me is having Wolverine stories that also have the ongoing monologue.
You don't like it, or you like
I don't
it?
like that. The ongoing internal
Really?
monologue.
I'm a big fan of that.
Depending on what it is, if it's constant, and you've seen this over like the past, like who knows how many years, where like depending on who's writing it, you'll either get like the cool silent Wolverine, and you know the internal monologue would just be like, "Oh, I should have wrapped up this secret a long time ago," whatever. But then you'll also get the she doesn't know what she's in for. I'm a killer.
Yeah, depends. Well, that depends.
I kill everything.
That depends on who's addressing the voice.
Like all he's doing is talking about how many people he's killed and what a piece of crap he is. You know, like it's all exposition, and it's
a bad self-talk, they say in therapy.
Okay.
He doesn't have good self-image. He has body dysmorphia,
and he got brain dysmorphia. All right,
but Max was good, man. Like honestly, like it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
And I think it had a nice little payoff. Like I think like it was, the second story was about him like protecting a dog and like getting revenge for his dog, and it was cool.
I
like
read it.
A little noir story.
Did you read Hawkeye this week?
Did I read Hawkeye? I did. I mean, I love that book.
Yeah.
You know what they're talking about with all this stuff? You know this is all based on a movie?
With what's his name, right?
With
Elliot Gould.
Elliot Gould.
Yeah.
This is from the Long Goodbye.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff. They had Dennis Wilson issue. Like all the LA stuff is really awesome. And I love the fact they brought all this together now with the Nefaria, like the LA mob. Did you read Daredevil from last week?
It was fantastic.
Those were the Brothers Grimm that he was fighting. Those was definitely the Brothers Grimm.
Really?
Yeah, they had the red and blue outfits and they're on gliders and everything.
Okay. That was awesome.
Did you read Spidey this week?
I did not.
Ooh, big issue.
2 issues, I stacked them.
Big issue.
Yeah.
This is the
Is this the end of the Goblin War?
Nope, it's the one that's gonna be worth money.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it gets revealed that it's not Doc Ock, it's really Norman.
Yes.
It's been Norman the entire time.
Yes. There's a few good reveals in this, and there's a big twist in the end.
I'm actually gonna. The weird thing is, like before I left, I have the 2 last issues like on deck, and I'm like, I'm gonna read these when I get back from the comic show.
New Avengers is great this week. Avengers is great this week.
A lot of books this week too.
It was a lot of books.
A lot of books. I like the new Alex and Ada. Could you read that yet?
I'm waiting for it to
Came
wrap
out.
up, and I'm gonna pick it all up.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff.
I picked up. I got the same thing for Cobra Medicine with our boy.
I'm missing the last
Bloodhound.
issue that
I just picked up all 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And I'm reading Earth X all over again because I want to do an Earth X retrospective eventually.
That's funny that you say that because I actually just found all of them.
How could you not?
The other day.
Whenever you see your Earth X's, don't you always like, oh, you re-pull them out and you're like, I gotta read this.
Yeah,
again.
I found all of them because I knew I was missing like 2 or 3, but luckily they were in the same area, and it was like the Herald's book, and one of the other ones. It was just like a
Captain
couple,
America
like one of the
book.
Paradise X ones.
Oh.
But yeah,
I think that I like the first storyline a great deal, but it's the second and third one that really gets to the meat of like how far they bring everything.
it
out.
gets really bananas towards what is it? It was Earth X, then Universe X, and then Paradise X, right?
Yeah, so Earth X was dealing with this crazy world, and the second one was like going into the meat and potatoes of how the interconnectivity of everything, and then they go into like the godly Asgardian celestial like metaphysics of how the Marvel universe works.
Right, and that's when I don't know if I
They do
remember it.
they do the angels, like they have like Captain America be the angel,
Right.
and like they have like all the Avengers come back as like superpowered dudes. And they do like they explain how the Asgardians are like advanced mutants and that were melded to our brains. I really want you to go back and read this because I really want to do a retrospective, and I would love to have him on the show.
That was the whole there's a whole thing I remember, that reveal with Loki where he would just he showed up and he just looked like a mannequin because he was like, no, like our whole thing is that people just see what they want to see.
He became like the new in-betweener. He became like a weirdo, like celestial being that was just blank.
Yeah.
That was not good or evil or anything.
But now we got to see if we can get
Kruger
on the show.
Yeah.
Leo Kruger and Freddy Krueger.
Leo Kruger. We're going to have Rose on the show.
And and Jim Kruger. All right. We're going to wrap it up. It's about 5:30 here on the East Coast.
Hey now.
I'm Rich.
I'm Bobo Brazil.
All right.